Welcome to another episode of Realign to Thrive. I'm Diana Lockett, and I'm really excited today to welcome my guest. This is an amazing woman that I have been friends with and following for quite some time. Dallisa is a transformational coach. She is the CEO and founder of Spirit and Spark and of Worthy and Rise. She is a fifth generation medium, spirit medium. She's an intuitive business coach, and she's a media producer and a host. Dallisa comes to us with a lot of wisdom, and the wisdom that comes to her through the spirit world and the wisdom that she has acquired in her life of serving others. Dallisa, welcome to my show. Thank you so much for being here.
Diana, it is a pleasure. Congratulations on your show, and I am excited to be here today.
Tell us a little bit about you, Dallisa. So your bio is very impressive, and you're relatively young to have done so much. Tell us a little bit about just you. Who is Dallisa?
Yes, I think I've worked a lot over the last 20 some years, right? My pathway is not one that I had picked out or selected when I was young. It had a lot of wild twists and turns, but it ultimately got me to where I needed to be, where the universe wanted me to be. So I have a background in the corporate world, working in hospitality in Las Vegas on the Strip. And through a chain of very interesting events, I ended up becoming the psychic medium that I now know I was born to be. It's on my dad's side of the family, and traces back to at least my great-great-grandmother, Belle. And she would see spirit apparitions, on the farm. And my grandmother would tell me the stories of when she was young and what she would experience with her grandmother. But I would say the last several years focused in on Spirit and Spark and the work as a psychic medium. I did headline a show in Las Vegas, 4 live shows a week. And then, of course, we all know what happened with the world and how everything got shut down. And so I really had to reevaluate, how do I bring healing to people in a way that can be virtual, but also still connect people together. So that's what we're doing
Let's
today.
pause. Yeah, amazing. Let's pause there for a minute because I want to come back to, I'm really fascinated by psychic mediumship. And when did you first realize that you had this gift? I know that it's been in your family and it sounds like it was a conversation throughout your upbringing, but when did you realize you had this gift?
It's a great question because this was not what I had planned. I was minding my own business. I had owned different businesses. I was working in the corporate world. I had a job in academia, and I went to New York to attend a workshop at the Omega Institute. And it was a workshop on synchronicity. And that is where everything ironically changed in my life, now knowing it was meant to be that way. But while I was attending that retreat, I stayed at a friend's house the last night of the trip. And he had gotten a phone call right before bedtime that his beloved aunt had passed away unexpectedly. I didn't know his family. I had known him through a work connection. And I went to bed. I really didn't think anything else of it until I woke up the next morning, having recollection of his aunt coming to me while I was asleep and asking me if I would tell her nephew and tell him that she made it to the other side, that she was okay, and give the reassurance to him. And so I woke up the next morning, got out of bed, and shared the message with him. And that's where everything changed. So you can imagine the flight back to Texas, where I was living at that point, was filled with lots of questions and trying to understand what had happened to me. And also asking the question, well, if that came through last night, what else has been trying to come through, and how do I connect with it more deliberately?
That's incredible. And your openness to receive it and to be in the space of curiosity about it, where many people might have retreated into fear, you welcomed it. What a beautiful gift. Now, can I ask you a very personal questions about your mediumship? Because I know a lot of people have this curiosity. Do you find that anywhere you go, you are receiving messages, or do you need to be prepared to call them in?
excellent question again. So it varies. I've had premonitions around crimes when I am at a location and the crime is about to happen. So I'm sure that's some soul contract somewhere. But I've had a couple of instances, one with a bank robbery and one with a gun altercation in a store, and seeing those very clearly before they happened. And so it's been an interesting journey because sometimes it's not when I'm asking for it, but it's something that spirit feels I need to know or to understand. Perhaps to understand the gifts more deeply, they bring me things that I don't necessarily ask for. But I would say when it comes to, doing the stage show, or, having one-on-one clients that I do, over video, it doesn't take a whole lot of preparation now at this stage in my work. But when I was first starting out and learning about the gifts, it really needed to be a very intentional setup before I went into mediumship to ensure that my vibration was high enough so that I could bring forward the information and do so in a way that was clear and concise. But now I don't think I need as much lead time to warm up the energy. And I think it's because I use the muscles so frequently that I don't necessarily need to ramp up as much in advance.
That's incredible. And I want to hear a lot more about how you've brought this into your business and how you've expanded your business, especially over the last couple of years that I've been following you. I want to go back to one of the things you mentioned about some of the events that you might receive premonitions for. Is that what you would call it, as a premonition? So what do you do with that?
Oh, yeah. I recall the one that happened on Halloween a couple of years ago. And it's a question I've sat with because I felt so strongly that there were going to be people in danger, that there was going to be an argument, a gun, people running. And I was at the grocery store with my mom, and my parents are very supportive of my gifts and what I'm able to bring through, because I know that it's a gift and it's not me, Dallisa. I'm just a conduit. I happen to be a pretty clear one, but yeah, my parents are very supportive. And so you walk through the grocery store, you start getting the feelings in your physical body, you start seeing things with your third eye, you start feeling like you are in a danger zone. And so you have to stand there for a moment and say, well, do I say something out loud, running the risk that I'm going to scare someone?
Right.
And so I decided to say something to my mother. She wanted to get one more thing on the grocery list. And so we go in the aisle, we get the lemonade for my dad that she wanted to purchase. And then we left. And it wasn't until the next day, because nothing happened at the grocery store. We got out okay. So then you're like, well, why did you show that to me? What was the point? And the next day, my mom went to go get her hair done. And as synchronicity would have it, the woman who was doing her hair said, hey, did you hear what happened at the store down the street? And what was happening,
the same store you had just been in?
It was the one down the street from the one that we were in. So I was picking up the signal of the energy. But what's so ironic about it, we have the grocery store receipt. I felt it before it happened. So I was getting the imprint of the energy that was about to occur at the store down the street. And I think it's to help me to understand how the gift works, help to communicate to people how mediumship or being a conduit really does come together. It doesn't always make perfect sense, but I do think by going through some of these situations I've been in, it helps me to know what those signals are so that I can help teach people and inform people. You got to trust your intuition. There was one that happened, and I'll keep this one brief, but where I knew that there was going to be a break-in at a rental property I was staying at. And I got the message a couple of hours before it actually happened. And so there are things I think they try to prepare me for, and other things that should be utilized to perhaps remind people to trust their intuition.
That is unbelievable. I have chills all over my body. And I love how you have taken this gift and channeled it through your vessel, as a vessel, to deliver something greater into the world. And I want to ask you about that in just a moment. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm here today with Dallisa, and Dallisa's telling us about her experience really to awakening to the gift that she has as a psychic medium. And over the last many years, Dallisa's been cultivating that gift and bringing it into the world as a business to increase her reach. And I know that she's here to tell us how she's delivering that gift into the world through the various many business ventures that she's involved in. So tell us a little bit, first of all, about how you decided to make this into a business, and then what are the business opportunities that you've created through this and how you're serving in the world.
Yes. So I love how the universe works, because when the gifts came in, several years ago, I had to sit with myself and ask, well, do I want to do this professionally now that I know what I know? I can't unsee it. Or do I, want to go a different route?
I love that comment, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, but I can't unsee it. It's like the universe gave this to me and I just can't put it away. Wonderful. Keep going.
I can't put it away. And so I had to really, go to that fork in my pathway and say, well, what's next then? And I moved back to Las Vegas. So I've hopped between Texas and Nevada a couple of times. I moved back to Las Vegas where I have family. And I said, well, maybe I'll try this. Maybe I could be a professional, reader. And on the side, I was applying for jobs. Mm-hmm. Would you believe that I couldn't even get an interview? And looking back on it, it's because it wasn't supposed to be that way. I was supposed to be, stepping into the gifts and the business of being a professional reader. And so I got licensed in Las Vegas. I worked out of a woman's shop in the back room where I was, metaphysical store, and I was pulling cards and doing mediumship. And a funny thing happened. And I think a lot of people may share a similar story when they finally found what they were supposed to be doing. The whole world starts unfolding and everything kind of lines up in your favor. And so what ended up happening was, my sessions became so popular, and this is going to sound egotistical, but just to tell you what happened, that I ended up having to open my own location and staff it with a team of readers in Las Vegas, because I couldn't keep up with the demand of people wanting sessions. And so I started Spirit and Spark really out of necessity, to try to keep people happy, because I hated saying, oh, hey, I've got a long waiting list. And instead I said, well, shoot, let me gather up some great readers that I personally auditioned all of them, and then opened up a location. And then with the pandemic, took everything virtual. We still have some practitioners that work in a couple of cities around the United States, but it's primarily virtual. And so it's been quite a journey. Yeah.
And Spirit doesn't care if you're in person or over Zoom. It still delivers the messages. So tell us what your business looks like now, the various aspects of your business.
Yeah, so I do live streaming, YouTube, Facebook, working on different collaborations for live streaming as well. I've hosted a podcast, even looking at hosting another podcast. There's definitely a media component of it, but I do have still a team of practitioners that work with people all around the world. Like you said, energy is everywhere. It doesn't matter what room you're in. You can tap into that frequency and help people regardless of where they live. We do offer a lot of different types of spiritual classes that we teach online as well. But yeah, there's even the Spark Plug group where people join me for live meditation and energy clearings. And so it's a combination really these days of produced content, media, but also one-on-one virtual sessions. We even do group virtual sessions, which is fun, like astrology parties on Zoom. And then the education piece, because I really feel like the strong mission of what I have built and what I'll continue to build is to help people advance their life forward, more joy, more happiness, more personal fulfillment. And I think so many people today live out a victim energy or a self-sabotaging energy, and they don't have to live that way anymore. And so if we can just help a fraction of the humans that are on Earth right now and help them realize their true potential and help them get there, then I feel like we have achieved our mission.
I love that. And what kept coming to mind is we're going to help them realign, because we all know why we're here. We all know how we can contribute, but we get so caught in the mess, the fear, everything that's beyond our control. And so I love that you are serving from that place. And I want to add that you're also doing some transformational coaching and some intuitive business coaching, right? So folks can reach out to you for that.
Yes, I love business coaching. And I mean, I love the transformational piece too. But I've owned so many different types of companies over the years before I realized that I have this ability. And I like to take everything I've learned and try to help the next entrepreneur not make the same mistakes I did, over the years. And so it's coming from a place of trying to make better entrepreneurs so that they can give back to the communities that they're in as well.
Let me say thank you for that. And I wish I'd have known you 15 years ago when I started my entrepreneur journey, and I didn't even know what it meant, what the word entrepreneur meant. And the tools, the skills that I have now, I wish I had then, and I wish I knew someone like you then. So thank you for delivering that and serving it and bringing it forward into the world. And I'm going to ask you a question, because Dallisa last year revealed the word for 2021, and the word for 2021, or the phrase, was plot twist. And I never forgot that word. I heard it at one of her, I'm in Dallisa's club, and so I heard it at one of her shares. And as things unfolded in 2021 that were beyond my expectation, beyond my imagination, beyond my control, every time something happened, I would say, plot twist. And I wouldn't get caught up in fear or anxiety or any questioning. I just trusted it was meant to be, because I'd heard that word, plot twist. And so thank you so much for giving that to me last year. It was such a gift, and it really served me well. My question for you is, what's the word for 2022?
Oh, I know. And I gave this a lot of thought, and there were two that actually came to mind. So I'll give you both, but I'll explain why I chose them. Surrender and resiliency. Mm-hmm. Resiliency is the one that I feel we really need to underline for 2022, because there are going to be things that happen this year that I see through my psychic predictions that are going to feel very unnerving, could be a bit off balance. I think there's going to be times where you're not going to truly understand what's truth, what's not truth, and having to sit with yourself and go inward and have that inner strength, that resiliency to move forward, regardless of what you might hear from the person down the street, the person on the TV. But it's about going inward and saying, you know what, I'm here for a reason, and I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to activate my purpose, and nothing's going to get me down. So there needs to be more of that courageous, brave energy this year.
Wonderful. And it takes surrender to be able to tune into your resilience.
Yes.
I want to say that surrender and resilience is the way that we can all realign to thrive in 2022. Amazing. Oh, Dallisa, it's been such a joy having you here. Your radiance lights up our screen and lights up the world. I want to ask if you have an offer for our audience. So this will be airing in April, and people can go, and what can they get from you? What can they receive from you at that time?
Yes, there are 3 gifts that I've got on the website for everyone watching. It's an oracle message, a guided meditation that I lead you through, and also ways to manifest the life that you want to live. And then I'd also really love to welcome your audience into the Spark Plug community. And everyone watching can activate a 30-day free trial, and they can cancel anytime. But I'd ask them to give it a try and come in and join us and join the conversation.
I love that. And I am part of the Spark Plug community. And I really feel that this time that we're living in, this season that we're living in, we really need to find our community. We need to find the people that can give us some inspiration, that can help us to lean into our resilience, that can remind us to surrender, and ultimately can help us realign, so we all will get through this with greater strength, greater courage, and greater wisdom. Dallisa, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you. I honor you. I salute you. And for those of you watching, remember, you can always realign to thrive. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Wasn't that a great episode? I am so excited to bring to you heart-centered leaders who are making global impact in the world as a beautiful imprint for all of us, that we too can make a difference. Until we meet again, I'm Diana Lockett, and know that you can always realign to thrive.